my gosh, guys, is that Dream? Wait a second, but I'm Dream. This is the funniest fake Minecraft speedrun ever, because the way this speedrunner tries to cheat is absolutely hilarious. So the speedrun begins, and right away, there's already something fake about the spawn, because if you look into the bottom left corner of the screen, you can clearly see the message of a player getting an achievement. And because the speedrunner literally just spawned in, this achievement has to be coming from an entirely different player, which leads me to believe the runner is playing on a server, and keep this in mind for later. So, the speedrun begins and the runner collects some wood, crafts some tools, and heads towards the village. Hold on a second. Do you see what's incredibly suspicious at this frame in the speedrun? Well, if you zoom in onto the roof of this village house, you'll actually spot a sign that has one single number, 1,300. And while I'm guessing the runner's friend who just got the achievement is the one who placed this sign here, this number is going to be extremely important later in the speedrun. So, the runner enters the village, where his first order of business is killing the iron golem. And there's two aspects of this iron golem that raise suspicion. To start, when you hit an iron golem in a real Minecraft speedrun, it will immediately start to chase you after taking damage. However, in this speedrun, this iron golem is completely passive after getting hit multiple times. But secondly, when the runner kills the iron golem in this speedrun, what? In the bottom left corner of the screen, you can see a message that a player was killed, which actually means this isn't even a real iron golem, but instead the speedrunner's friend who is using a morph mod. So it's not a surprise that the runner collects far more ingots than normal after killing it. So, after collecting a bunch of extra iron, the runner's next order of business is looting this village chest. And it's actually not the chest we have to be worried about, as it contains completely normal items. But it's actually out of this window that we need to look at, because at this part of the speedrun, you can literally see another player running throughout the village. And first off, it's obvious this is the same player who was just pretending to be the iron golem. But secondly, take a closer look as to what this player is holding in their hand. Is that flint and gold? Wait, what? Was there some sort of new update that I missed? Keep this strange item in mind for later in the run. So, after looting the village chest and gathering a couple of extra beds, the runner then begins to search for a ruins portal, and he actually manages to locate one fairly quickly. Hold on a second. Did you catch how the speedrunner just cheated? Well, it's almost impossible to spot, so I'll give you one more chance to see if you can catch it. You see it now? Well, if you pause the footage at this frame, you can actually see the slightest outline of an invisible block. And this outline actually means there is a barrier block at this location, which is a block that clearly doesn't spawn naturally in a plains biome. And if you play the footage, it's obvious the runner has been following these invisible barrier blocks all the way to the ruins portal. And because a barrier block is an item that can only be obtained through commands, it's pretty obvious the runner's friend was the one who got them and placed them in a very specific path as a way to lead the runner straight to the ruins portal. But I just caught them cheating in 4K. So, the runner locates the ruin portal, and if I have to give him some credit, the loot in this ruin portal chest is completely normal, and he finishes the portal and lights it without any strange activity. But right before the runner is about to spawn into the nether, pause the footage at this frame, where we can spot a sign for the second time in the speedrun, this time with the number -40. And this is now the second number that we've seen during the speedrun, and make sure you remember both of them. So, the runner enters the nether, and while I can give him credit for getting the achievement, I can't give him any credit for how he locates this fortress, because he accidentally says something that completely exposes him. Let's take a listen.
So I just take a right turn at this wall, then go over the lava pool and take a sharp left? That's what you said, right?
As you could very clearly hear, the speedrunner is talking to somebody else off camera, most likely the same friend who we've seen throughout the run. And he was clarifying which directions he was supposed to take, meaning his friend had already told him exactly how to locate the fortress. And this guy must have thought his microphone was muted because we just heard everything. So, after taking a right turn at this wall, going over this lava pool, and taking a left turn exactly like we just heard him say, the runner does find himself directly in front of a fortress. But here's where things get very weird, because on the surface, it may look like the runner gets the achievement for entering the fortress. But notice how long it takes for the achievement to appear after the runner enters the fortress. Nearly 15 entire seconds. And this is very weird, considering in a real Minecraft speedrun, you're supposed to get the achievement immediately after you enter. Well, if you look into the left corner of the screen during the exact moment when the achievement appears, you can actually see the runner's friend entering the fortress, which means this delayed achievement was not meant for the speedrunner, but instead the speedrunner's friend. And therefore, the speedrunner hasn't actually gotten the achievement for entering a fortress, meaning he's actually been here before he started recording. And this is made incredibly obvious when the runner is fighting blazes at the blaze spawner, because if you pause at this frame, you can literally spot 2 extra blaze spawners, which were clearly placed by the runner off camera. And that is likely when he got the achievement for entering the nether. But here's the thing. While these blaze spawners are in fact fake, their only purpose is actually a distraction, because with 3 total blaze spawners, it's pretty obvious there'll be a ton of blazes and a bunch of chaos. And so while the runner is pretending to be distracted by a bunch of these blazes, take a good look into the right side of the screen, where the runner's friend is building some sort of portal out of blackstone. And the runner clearly didn't want us to see his friend building this, so he added extra blaze spawners to spawn more blazes and create a distraction. So, the runner pretty quickly collects 7 blaze rods, where you're probably expecting him to start searching for a bastion. However, he instead decides to make his way towards this strange blackstone portal that we just saw being built a few seconds ago. But after the runner tries to light it using flint and steel, I think it's more than obvious it's not going to work. So what is the runner supposed to do? Well, he immediately types in chat asking for his friend to quote-unquote transfer it? What exactly does the runner want his friend to transfer him? Well, do you remember back near the very beginning of the speedrun, when we caught the speedrunner's friend holding this very strange flint and gold? Well, just a few seconds after typing the message, what? The flint and gold suddenly appears in the runner's inventory, which is clearly the item the runner wanted when he was typing transfer it. And so when he uses this item on the portal, oh my gosh, the portal actually manages to light and looks absolutely insane. But that's not all, because when the runner enters this portal and goes to spawn in, oh my gosh, he has teleported directly into a bastion. So much just happened that it's literally hurting my brain. So, the runner somehow finds himself directly in a bastion, and after crafting an iron pickaxe and collecting gold ingots, the runner starts to trade with a group of nearby piglins. But as the runner is casually throwing his gold, what? One of the piglins suddenly turns into a mutant piglin? This thing is literally giant. And look at the weapon he's holding. This is actually insane. Well, I guess with a giant piglin, that also means you're going to get giant items, because this mutant piglin gives the runner quite possibly the biggest ender pearl that I've ever seen. What in the world is happening? So, after collecting all of the loot from a bunch of normal piglins, and collecting giant loot from the mutant piglin, which luckily go back to the normal size once in the inventory, it's obvious the runner's next order of business is to enter the overworld. But right before the runner is about to spawn back in, pause the footage at this frame, where we can spot the 3rd sign we've seen in the speedrun, which this time has the number 578. And don't worry, these 3 signs will make a ton of sense in just a few moments. So, the runner spawns back into the overworld, where he immediately crafts Eyes of Ender, and after using the process of triangulation, he seems to think the stronghold is located in this direction. But pause. Just a few seconds ago, I pointed out how the runner has seen 3 different signs in the speedrun. To start, he saw the number 1300 on the roof of this village house. Next, he saw the number -40 before heading into the nether. And finally, he just saw the number 578 in the bastion. Well, if you put these 3 numbers together, it's quite obvious they make up a set of coordinates. Now, if we play the footage while the runner is quote-unquote using triangulation, it's pretty obvious he isn't following any of the eyes he's throwing, but instead, he's actually making his way towards these exact coordinates. And when the runner finally locates them, he starts digging down, eventually falling straight into the stronghold. So it's pretty obvious the speedrunner's friend knew exactly where the stronghold was located and placed signs with coordinates throughout the speedrun to direct the runner straight to it. I've exposed their cheating yet again. So, the runner drops straight down into the stronghold, where his first order of business is looting the stronghold chest. And while it may look like all of the items here are completely normal, it's actually impossible for a chainmail hat to spawn naturally in this location. So keep this in mind for when the runner is fighting the Ender Dragon. So, after collecting a bit more loot and searching throughout the stronghold, the runner finally manages to locate the end portal room. But wait just a second, did you see that? As the runner is casually making his way up to the portal, notice how an Eye of Ender suddenly appears out of thin air. How is that possible? Well, if you rewind the footage to earlier in the speedrun and pause here, you can actually see the speedrunner's friend holding a potion of invisibility. And if you now go back to when this Eye of Ender magically appeared, you can actually spot floating particles in the air, which are clearly coming from an invis potion. So I think it's pretty obvious the speedrunner's friend was using invisibility, and he was the one who placed this extra eye in the portal. And this was a huge help for the speedrunner, as he now has the exact amount of eyes he needs to light the portal. Come on, dude, seriously? So, the runner lights the portal, enters the end, and things actually look completely normal. As the speedrunner gets the achievement in the bottom left corner, he hasn't gained any weird items in his inventory, and when he makes his way to the surface of the end, the Ender Dragon still has full health. But after the runner breaks a few of the crystals, pause the footage. Do you remember how I just pointed out the runner finding a chainmail hat in the stronghold chest? Which is actually an item that can't spawn there naturally? Well, this isn't your ordinary chainmail hat, because it's literally called the Massive Cap. Interesting. Well, after the runner breaks the crystals, he goes to put on the Massive Cap. What? The runner has suddenly turned into a giant. Wait, hold on a second. This dude is quite literally as big as the obsidian pillars. Oh my gosh, and look at him next to the Ender Dragon. He makes the dragon literally look tiny. Was the Massive Cap an item added in the new update? Well, I guess if your character is literally as big as the pillars, you also gain God Strength. Because the runner pulls out a single stone axe and literally one-shots the Ender Dragon. Click a video on screen now to watch even funnier fake Minecraft speedruns.